Welcome to Easy 3 Sport Production. I'm your host Suttles, and today it is finally here, the 2024 draft. We're about to start to go through these prospects and start to rate them on what they done and see how they're going to end up in the league. Let's get it. So welcome. If you haven't been here before, go ahead and hit that sub button. We'll be talking about the 2024 NFL Draft prospects coming out this year. And we're going to start off with the number one guy. The guy that everybody has been touted as the generational talent. Everything is special about this kid, and they're saying that he is going to come into the league and absolutely wreck it up. But we're going to see for ourselves. We're going to go through the analysts. I'm going to rate them on a scale of 5 different categories. So it will be the arm talent, it will be the accuracy, the footwork, the poise, and the leadership ability. And we'll be going through the quarterbacks, of course, because they are the most important thing in the NFL at this point. But we're going to start off with USC own Caleb Williams. Now, let's go into a deep dive of Caleb Williams' game throughout the years and to really see if he's this generational prospect that everybody wants to claim, or is he just a special talent that's ready to go into the NFL? So, you got to understand something about Caleb Williams. He is very talented. So, there's no hate over here. He is an absolute beast. But the generational tag in the sports media gets thrown around way too much. A generational means within a 10-year span or 15-year span that there's nobody like this guy. And you're not going to see anybody like this guy. That tag gets thrown around way too much in that media, and I just want to sit back and say, if you go ahead and you look at the tape from your own eyes as a sports fan, you'll see that everything isn't rose-colored glasses. Everything isn't as much or as hyped up as they always want to make it seem. So, for me, went through the tape, and we're going to go through exactly what Caleb Williams is. Is he the number one pick in this draft class? Let's find out. So Caleb Williams, he started out his career over at Oklahoma as a true freshman. I am actually an Oklahoma Sooners fan, and he absolutely wrecked it. He was a beast. He had all the talent. He had the skills. And when Lincoln Riley took the job at USC, Caleb Williams went with him, and he did not disappoint. He went out there and had a phenomenal Heisman Trophy campaign in the 2022 season, and honestly, it was going to be really hard to replicate that coming into this season, but he tried his best. And coming into this season, he was all hyped up. Now he was at the point of everything that he does was going to be looked at, and they was going to scrutinize, and they was going to look at every little detail, because they have already touted him as a generational prospect. They have already touted him as the number one pick. So now they got to see if he's actually ready. And coming into the season, the team wasn't as good as it was the year before. He was trying to replicate that magic, but just didn't really hit home. He had a lot of bumps in the road, but how did he handle them? We can go ahead and go through it. But let's go ahead and get started with his strengths. One of his strengths, flat out, he's a dual threat quarterback. Back in high school, he used to play running back, so he does have that elusiveness until they put the ball in his hand and realize that, oh my God, this guy is actually extremely talented at the quarterback position. But he's a dual threat quarterback. He is an improviser. That is his style of play. He is a very off-schedule type guy. So the 5-step, 7-step back foot hit and that ball needs to be out. That's not Caleb. Caleb is waiting for the big fish. He's gonna take it. He sees the little 5-yard routes, the little 7-yard routes. He ain't gonna take it. He wants that home run. He wants to make it look spectacular. He wants to make it look like it's the Caleb show. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have quarterbacks like that in the league throughout history, but seeing it done in college, and especially the way that he's doing it, it is pretty special. And the other thing of why he can do that so much is because of his arm talent. He has A1 arm talent. The minute that he steps into the NFL, he easily has a top 7 arm, just based off of arm talent alone. That's the kind of guy that is stepping in with that kind of arm talent, with that kind of dual threat. He's ready to improvise. These are the things that he is used to. These are the things that he made his mark on. He's very athletic. We've already spoke about, his background as also being a running back. And when you look at Caleb Williams, you just look at him and you say, he's got it. Like, he just has it. In the college ranks, you can look at him and just say, he has that it factor. And it's very hard to determine if a guy has that factor. You can go throughout your whole career and realize, like, oh, this just ain't the guy. But he has that it factor from the college ranks. Now, coming into the league, these are all just projections to see exactly what he's going to do or how he's going to be. But he has it. He just flat out, he has it. Now, when I get to the concerns of what Caleb Williams does, he's a risk taker. So whoever picks him up into the draft, they're going to have to understand that he is a big play guy. He is not going to do small potatoes here, small potato here, 3 yard, 5 yards. He's not going to do that on a consistent basis. Now, that can be coached into him, but his play style, he's a risk taker. He's an all or nothing type dude. He wants to go 30, 40 yards down the field. He wants to show off that arm talent. He wants to get the big plays and put the fans in the stands and get those wins. But he would gladly take that risk of throwing that 15, 20-yard bomb to maybe a pick six. Or maybe scrambling out of the pocket where he should throw the ball away and try and fit it in a tight window on the sideline. That's something that you can coach out of somebody, but do you really want to do it with that kind of talent where he's improvising to that skill set, and the percentage of him not completing or not being successful is a lot higher, is a lot lower than him not doing it. You feel me? So you gotta let the player be the player, and I think that that's what a lot of quarterbacks and just players in general run into in the NFL, is where guys where the coaches try to fit the square peg into a round hole, and it just doesn't work. Another thing that's concerning is his footwork. Now, this is not a major concern. It's just because he has that arm talent. So the footwork that the purists will really look at, it's kind of going to be all out on the whack, simply because he has the arm talent. And we've seen guys in the league literally make a whole career, a Hall of Fame career, with terrible footwork. But because that arm talent is so immense and is so great, the footwork really doesn't matter. And the one guy that I'm thinking of is Aaron Rodgers. If you ever watched Aaron Rodgers' feet, they're absolutely terrible. I mean, it goes every which way. Everything logically that you think that a quarterback is supposed to be able to do and be able to throw with and get that power, Aaron Rodgers does not do. Aaron Rodgers can run to the left side, switch his hips, throw a Hail Mary, and get caught. Aaron Rodgers can run to the sideline, 1 foot, throw it to the sideline, an absolute dot. Aaron Rodgers can back up and try to get out of the pocket, go off one leg, back spinning, 15-yard dime. He can do that because the arm talent is so much further. is so much better than his footwork that it's not really an issue. And it's a concern when going into the draft process, but overall, I don't think that this is really going to hinder Caleb Williams on that manner, simply because, I mean, hey, his arm talent, like I said, he's going to be top 7 the minute that he steps into the NFL. That arm talent is way, way more talented than his footwork. Even though that's important, but you can't really mess with that kind of arm talent. And sometimes this works into the detriment, because another one concern is the short game. He is not good at the short game whatsoever, but we've also seen this with Josh Allen, where he just had to find that touch. Simply because when you have that kind of arm power and that arm strength, you really don't know how to put a touch on it when it's just a drag route or a 5-yard in or something of that nature, and he really struggles with that. That's one of the reasons why he don't typically do the short game, where he's always looking to go for the intermediate and the deep ball. It's because that's one of his weaknesses, is the short game. And this came into question this season, mostly because all eyes was on him. It's the mentality. Now, you know that I'm a Giants fan. And for everybody that's a Giants fan, you know how New York is, and you know how the New York media approaches guys and literally eviscerate them on any type of scale whatsoever. We're the Giants, and we're the main team in New York. And you can even look at the secondary team in the Jets and see how they eviscerated Zach Wilson and got him absolutely baffled. So for Caleb, it depends on where he actually goes, where that may not be so much of an issue. Because what we've seen at USC was the fact that when he's losing, kind of mentally, he checks out. He checks out, and it's not like that hard, that, how can I say this? Like the mentality of, hey, I'm just going to get to the next play, and I'm just going to get to the next game. I'm going to work hard and everything like that. He's more of a, all right, man, we lost the game. He said this in the press conference, I just want to go back home and cuddle with my puppy and, watch some TV shows. He's more of a relaxed kind of guy. Shoulders down, a relaxed kind of guy. Now, it comes into question, but the thing is, it depends on exactly where he goes. Like, if he goes to one of the big markets, like, I'm just naming the big markets, not saying that this is where he would go, but if he's going to a New York, if he's going to a Philly, if he's going to a Dallas, if he's going to like a Pittsburgh, if he's going, like, those kinds of teams, just their media and the way that their fan base is, they're looking for a certain type of guy, a very mentally strong kind of guy. And if you can't take the heat, then you got to get out the kitchen. And that's just how those fan bases are, and that's how it is. I mean, you just have to be mentally strong to be in those scenarios. In those situations. And maybe that's not the best situation for Caleb Williams, but I will reveal at the end of this video where I think that he best fits. So those were his strengths and his concerns. So now let's get into the grading process of the actual categories of what I laid out to you earlier. Let's get started with just the arm talent. You've heard me say that multiple times. His arm talent, that's A+. Like I said, top 7 the minute that he steps into the NFL. So that's not anything outside. The accuracy. As a quarterback, I would rate him as a B+ with his accuracy. His deep ball accuracy is 100% on point. That's where he wants to go a lot. His intermediate is, it's a kind of hit and go. He can overthrow at sometimes. He can, let the hips drop, and it doesn't really look at that cordial. on the intermediate range, and then we already spoke about his short game. It's not up to par. That's like a golf reference, but it's really not up to par. But overall, I would give him a B plus. But the deep ball, which he is used to doing and what he wants to do, he's absolutely great at that. Footwork, we spoke about that as well. I would give it a B plus, but we've already said, the arm talent exceeds the footwork, so I'm not too concerned about it, but he still needs a good amount of footwork to be able to put himself in those kinds of positions, because the NFL is a lot faster. Those holes that you think is open close real fast. Those defenders that are guarding the receivers, they close real quick. So you still got to use the footwork to maneuver yourself and to put you in the right positions. But ultimately, as I said, I don't think it's going to be too much of a concern. Poise in the pocket. He's really worked on that from the 2022 season to the 2023. He stays in the pocket just a tad bit longer, and he's able to let that receiver go through that progression just a tad bit longer. So he has gotten better at that. I give him an A on that. And when it comes to the leadership skills, I believe that it is an A minus. Now, I am not in the locker room with him. I am not on the field with him. I am just saying what I see with my two eyeballs. And for me, I feel like that he is a more of a calm soul. Like, he's more of an individual. He's not that leader to who's going to galvanize or who's going to motivate the players that is less than him to play better or play outside of to play better than, however, their limitations. I don't see him doing that. I don't see that he gets extremely verbal. He's just more of a very calm soul, and he leads by example. But the problem is with that is sometimes, especially when you're going into the NFL locker room, these are grown men. The guys need to be verbalized in the correct manner for their leader to be able to take them. Caleb Williams strikes me as, we're going to take it to basketball, as a Carmelo Anthony, as a Kevin Durant, where he is the best player on the team, but he's not the leader on the team. If you get what I'm saying. Like, on the OKC, Durant was the best player, Russ was the leader. When Carmelo in Denver, Carmelo was the best player, Chauncey Billups was the leader. It was because they were just the best player. They led by example, but everybody doesn't have that talent. Sometimes some guys need the motivation, needs to be talked to in a certain manner, in a certain way, and he didn't display that at USC. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have it, but he just didn't display it at USC. Now, the overall grade for Caleb Williams is an A. He's not an A plus. There are some concerns there. As I said, the generational tag gets thrown around a lot in the media, and he's a very special prospect. That's what Caleb Williams is. He's a very special prospect. I don't think that he's going to come in day one and flat out pull a Andrew Luck or anything of that nature. He's going to have to take some time to get adequate in the league, but his upside is immense. He has that top 3 quarterback potential. He definitely has that. And the team that I believe that will benefit the most for getting Caleb Williams, hate to say it, is the Washington Commanders. If he goes to Washington, now I don't know what they're going to do. They just fired Ron Rivera. I don't know if Eric Bieniemy is still going to be the offensive coordinator. I don't know if he's still or if he's going to be the head coach. The ownership has changed over from Dan Snyder to a host of people, so everything there is new. They're looking for a marketable guy, and Caleb Williams fits perfectly. Why does he fit perfectly? Because he's from DC. He's already from DC, so he's a hometown guy. The way that he walks, the way that he talks, he's an individualist just like the DC natives. He knows how to speak their language. He got their style. The fans are going to endure him because he is a hometown kid. They will sell jerseys like crazy. Everything just fits for him. Now, the only thing is, as I said, I don't know what they're going to do with the coaching situation. I don't know what they're going to do with the offensive coordinator situation. But if Eric Bieniemy is still there, Caleb Williams is going to flourish. And it hates for me to say it's because I'm a Giants fan and we are in the same division as them. But if Eric Bieniemy stays there, I don't care how much credit they was trying to not give him out there in Kansas City. Even though if Andy Reid was calling the plays, Eric Bieniemy was still there. He was still working with Patrick Mahomes. And this is a Patrick Mahomes type player, such as improvising on majority of the plays, and that's how Eric Bieniemy's system is that he wants the quarterback to be that talent. He wants the quarterback to be what they are, not just 5-step drop, go right there, like not a robot. You play outside of the box. That's how Eric Bieniemy's system is. The city would love him. He's a hometown kid. That's where I believe Caleb Williams will flourish the most. And Washington actually has the number 2 pick. So they have an opportunity to do all this. And if so, it'll be good for Caleb. Because like I said, everything just fits the build for him going to Washington. And it will definitely work out in Washington's favor. Now, if you haven't already, hit that like button. If this is your first time coming to see me, I do New York Giants content, but when it's the draft, I love to do the prospects. So if you enjoyed this video about Caleb Williams, go ahead and share it, hit that sub, and until next time, I'm out.